and welcome to the Philosophical Research Society. May I ask, for how many of you is this your first time here? Wow, look what you did, Zhenya. Awesome. How many of you drove past this and said, what the hell is that? I'm here to answer that question for you. My name is Greg Salyer. I'm the president of the society. And in 1934, our founder, Manly Paul, bought this plot of land. It was a mustard grass field. There was nothing around here. And he founded the Philosophical Research Society then, and we've been going now for 85 years. Why? Why have we been going? What are we doing here? We are not a Scientology front. We're not a front at all. We're actually pretty simple, although it does freak people out sometimes when they look at the statue looming over the intersection over there. And we get emails about the statue. The statue is just an adept worshiping the sun, so don't worry about the statue. Don't worry about us. We're dedicated to esoteric studies, which simply means that which is hidden. Hidden, that's all it means. That's what occult means too. So don't worry about that either. It just means hidden. Alright, so we like to look for things that are quite simply not being talked about. Because, I mean, it's not like they're deliberately hidden, although sometimes they are, but we don't have to get into that. We just like to look for the world's wisdom, and that's what our founder did for his whole life. And he dedicated this institution to helping seekers. Right? So I always say, if you're a finder, congratulations, we don't have anything for you. If you're a seeker, welcome, because we are too. We haven't found the answers yet. And so Mr. Hall was brilliant in laying out a path that was really no path, or all paths. What he said here is we're not going to be theosophy, we're not going to be Rosicrucianism, we're not going to be Buddhism or psychology. We're going to be all of that. All of it. Because every path has its way, and more importantly, everybody's on a different path. Right? And you've got to meet people where they are. You've got to meet them where they are. And you can't say, well, your path is terrible. Look at my path. That's never going to work. That never has worked. So Mr. Hall was a genius in making that one of our foundational values. Is that you come here and we're going to give you everything we have to offer you. Buddhism, psychology, philosophy, literature, and art. Right? Manly Hall was a great lover of art. And I'm happy to say that last year we opened the first PRS gallery, which is in the back, and in which Zhenya has some paintings as well. Why? I'm a literature professor and a philosopher by trade, but I recognize the limits of words. Words are great. I love words, but words will only take you so far. And every great thinker recognizes that at some point you've got to move into something else, something beyond words, like images, or movement, or mysticism even. This is Mr. Hall, a quote from him. All good art is religious art. Let me say that again. All good art is religious art. You're in touch with that, aren't you? All good art is religious art because it impels us to appreciate and to admire. And these are the natural foundations of veneration. It is indeed better to understand than to worship. I know, right? Better to understand than to worship, to appreciate than to accept, and to be at peace rather than to strive after the great abstractions of the spirit. An artist can make great things simple. The art lover makes simple things great. Isn't that fantastic? You know who else is fantastic is our featured artist tonight. Honestly, don't remember how we met, but I think John Slifko had something to do with it. A wonderful man who died last year, I think it was, and brought us together. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. What a wonderful man, yes. And our librarian, Kelly, and I went over to see Zhenya's studio and were just blown away. And we immediately asked if she would be interested in doing a lecture and an exhibit here. She's already done a lecture here on Dürer that was brilliant. And now this is her first show here. Let me tell you what the world says about Zhenya. She's an internationally renowned artist. I'm sorry, I'm a professor. Yeah. I like words. She was born in Moscow, held her first solo exhibition in St. Petersburg at 14. Youngest student to be admitted to the Otis Art Institute, Zhenya graduated with honors and later received her Master of Fine Arts degrees from the Art Center College of Design. The Grammy Music Cares Foundation selected Gershman to create portraits of Bruce Springsteen and Bob Dylan. And she is an independent scholar and a brilliant one, working at the J. Paul Getty Museum on Rembrandt. And most importantly, I think, for her and for us, she's the founder of Project All, Aesthetics of the Western Esotericism. And that's how we came to find overlapping missions with PRS and that institution. She's a brilliant scholar on Dürer, as I mentioned, and has been published on him. That's the word on Zhenya. Let me tell you my experience of Zhenya. I find her to be a force of nature. We naively said, oh, we have a little art gallery, would you like to show it? And then the art gallery's back there, but we're right here. So you see what happened. She's an alchemist. She transformed. Let me tell you, our auditorium did not look like this before we met Zhenya. It was fine. It was kind of a sick yellow color, and we had those columns painted all the way down. And now it looks like this. This is all thanks to Zhenya. She overflows every genre and form you give her, as you can see in her work. Please welcome our friend, Zhenya Gershman.
Oh boy, I'm very disappointed because you stole my line. No. My line was that I have actually never been treated so well as an artist. It's what you imagine it would be like, but it's never out there. Raise a hand if you're an artist. It's a difficult thing to be an artist. And here at PRS, I was treated the way you could only possibly imagine, the way I think many people felt that art, there's a reverie, the religious quality about the art and the artist, and that's how I've been treated. And I wanted to thank everyone, of course, Greg, the president, and Kelly, who is the mastermind and the curator of this exhibition. Sharon, is Sharon here? She was responsible for everything, for the media, the proofreading of the catalog. Roger and Frank, yes, and all the volunteers. What I didn't think they knew about themselves, what I found out. The subject of this work, as we will discover in just a moment, is Kabbalah. And I didn't know if they knew that they were practicing Kabbalists. Because that's my line, they have transformed this space into museum quality of rooms. So I wanted to thank you for that. And also I wanted to just take a moment to thank Chip, where are you? For being a sponsor, for undertaking for the remodeling of this room. And Ben, is Ben here? Ben was the designer of the catalog. I hope that you get a chance to look at the catalog. It is my first printed book. I am truly grateful to PRS for producing this. And my models. Raise a hand if you've been painted by Zhenya. My husband is raising a hand. I'm so grateful to those of you who came and those of you who are just on the walls painted and everyone who's inspired me. And raise a hand if you are from the Tango community. All right, that's most of us here. So you are amazing people. I've been so fortunate to have you as my friends. And raise a hand or a brush if you're my student. Thank you. This is an honor to have you here and to share with you. And pretty soon we're going to have an exhibition for you as well at my studio. And finally, my family, my parents, my husband, my daughter. So thank you. I could say a passage about you, but I'm very briefly, there will be a talk on October 20th, an artist panel. So if you're interested to go through the exhibition, to hear from a couple of experts that are joining me at the panel, we really hope you'll be back. But I just wanted to say a couple of words. I'm not going to hold you too much longer about the work. First of all, it occurs to me that tomorrow is Rosh Hashanah. And this is the celebration of the Jewish New Year. But when we think about Rosh Hashanah, the word is Rosh, which is head. And I'm standing next to these big heads over here. Head, the beginning. And these three heads are my three teachers. The one in the middle is one of the greatest philosophers. His name is Daniel Matzek. And he literally changed my life. So I wanted to point him out. And to the right is my grandmother. This portrait was made a day after she had passed away. I had painted my grandmother for over 30 years. And this was the last painting I made. This was the putting a period in a sentence, and she was still with me, and I wanted to share that with you. She's one of my greatest teachers in life. And to the side is a person that I taught everything I know, but learned triple from. This is my daughter, Nika, and actually this is my husband. The gray space. She's looking out beyond the point of knowledge. She doesn't know the world yet. She's on his shoulder, which is safe, and she's about to learn about all of you and the life ahead of her. So, Nika, thank you. I continue to learn from you tremendously. So, Rosh Hashanah, beginning, when you think about the beginning, you think about the cycle. You think about the beginning, you think about the end. And I think about the beginning of creation. And that takes me to the Torah and to the three words in the Torah. Who remembers what they are in Hebrew? Bereshit, bara, Elohim. So what this means, in the beginning, God created. And what's interesting about these three words is that we find out that God was not merciful, God was not loving, God was not powerful, God was not, whatever the word, whatever the adjective you can come up with, we find out that God was an artist. Right? So that really speaks to me, a creator. And then, when we think about the beginning of that phrase, the Kabbalists were not interested in just words. The Kabbalists were interested in the letter itself, each letter. So let's think about not even the first three words, not even the first word, Bereshit, but the very first letter of the story of creation in Jewish tradition. It's the word Bereshit. So the first letter of the Torah of everything is not Aleph, not A, not one, but Bet, right? Bet is the second letter of the alphabet. So why would you start? The Kabbalists would say, why do you start the story from two? God is supposed to be about unity, the one God, the unification with God. Why do we start with Bet? And the interesting part that speaks to me why I'm attracted to the philosophy of the Kabbalah, it speaks that when you're an artist, like God is an artist, in order to create, the creative act is an art of splitting. You have to give something and split something, like night from day, light from dark, water from ground, and in that you create the world of duality. That is the world of this is me and this is you. And for the rest of the time, we try to come back together. We try to bring those oppositions back together, and that's the role of the viewer. The viewer is the two. The one is the creator, the two, the Aleph is the creator, the Beta is the viewer. Your job is to come back to the source. And what happens, there are all these subjects in this room that are removed from you, separate from you. My grandmother, my daughter, my teacher. But your job is to feel them and to realize that they're part of you. That it is your daughter, your grandmother, your teacher, your story, and to recognize it and to bring it back together. So it's an amazing concept if you think about the creation as splitting and coming back together. I wanted to mention John one more time, John Slifko, who was an amazing philosopher, amazing scholar, an amazing friend. I met him only about 7 years ago, but these were the richest 7 years that I had shared with anybody. And I wanted to dedicate this experience, the show, the catalog, to his memory. This place was very special to him, and he simply would not have believed that I'm standing here with the paintings in this gallery, and it would mean so much to him. So I wanted, in a way, to bring him back, to make sure that he's with us in this room, to feel and appreciate it. And for this task, I'm actually going to ask my daughter, is your food ready?
Almost.
Okay. I'm going to ask her to play a short excerpt from a piece she's going to perform with the Philharmonic Orchestra next Saturday, but a small excerpt. And the excerpt is from Orpheus. I'm sure all of you know the story of Orpheus, but he was one of the only two people, human beings, who were, according to the ancient tradition, was allowed to go to the world of the dead. Anybody can go to the world of the dead, but he was allowed to go and come back. So that's the trick. And the story of Orpheus is that his beloved had passed away, and he started playing his music so sadly that the gods could not take it anymore. And they said, go get her, right? Stop playing this terrible, sad music. Only on one condition, that you will not look back, that you will trust that she's calling you into the light. And of course, he goes to get her, and he doesn't hear his beloved behind him because her footsteps are so light, she's just a shadow. And right before they're about to exit to the living, he looks back, and she vanishes. So this is the piece of music that will take you, hopefully, not just to listen to Nika playing, but what I'm hoping to do, just like I'm hoping that John would be in this room, I'm hoping that every one of your loved ones can join you in this experience and can be with you for a moment, that we can capture the soul to be with us, and then we can let them go. So Nika, please take us there. coming. Let's party, let's celebrate. Come back on October 20th. And thank you again. Thank you so much, everyone.